most sheep are cream colored to white. By the way, they're nasty. When you feel them, they're very greasy. The lanolin in the sheep's nasty stuff.
They don't swim well either.
Anyway.
That's another story.
Is this the first time we've ever heard of selective breeding? Is this the first occupation?
Probably the first, I mean, I don't know whether they did it, you know, traditionally in their area or not, but obviously they knew about it. You know, he didn't dream this up by himself. I'm sure that they had cattle and sheep and all, goats and everything else that, you know, they bred healthfully. It's interesting in that chapter. Go to verse 35 in that chapter. Genesis 30. Wait a minute.
31.
Let me see where I'm trying to go. I'm looking for the place where he talks about the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac. Do you think that's El or Yahweh?
Yahweh?
It doesn't sound like El to me. I may have a typo in my notes, but very interesting that in your packet, wait a minute, let's take a second. In your packet, you have a multicolored diagram. Which I can't find. Missy, the diagram of the patriarchal narratives. Yeah. I can't find it in
The chart,
mine,
I see.
there it is on the board. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
There's also another sheet in there that's called The Mystery of the Doublets. Okay? One of the things that you'll notice is that very often you get the same story told about two different people, or the same story told in two different ways, in two different places. This is why. You have multiple stories from the Elohist and the Yahwist, where both of them own the same story, but they tell it differently. And so you get a duplication of stories. And as I said at the very first lesson, the Jews never threw anything away. The redactors didn't just come along and say, well, we've used that story, let's not use it again. They said, oh, we've used that story, let me put it in here instead. And so you get the same story being told from a different perspective, but that's because you have 3 versions being interwoven. Okay? You don't have D at this point, but you have J, E, and P being interwoven. Okay? I hope that makes sense. And you've seen the pictures of the household gods. Jacob now is going to go home. He has many, many animals. He has 2 wives and 2 concubines. He has 11 sons and a daughter. And he is going to go back to his father's land and take all this stuff with him. He is now a sheik. He went with nothing, and he is now a sheik. He has oxen, donkeys, flocks, male and female slaves. Meanwhile, Esau has married one of Ishmael's daughters. And Jacob is scared to death because the last time he saw Esau, Esau had decided he was going to kill him. Okay? And I love the fact that he says he originally crossed Jordan with only his wooden staff, and now he has 2 companies. He has 200 people with him. He sends Esau a present. He sends Esau, I love this, 200 female goats, 20 males, 200 ewe sheep, 20 rams, 30 milk cows and their calves, 20 female donkeys, and 10 males. And this is a present to his brother, a peace offering. Okay? I will give you this if you will not kill me. Okay? And he starts off on his travels. And he gets to the Jabbok. And he gets attacked. You have to think about, this is definitely a Yahwist story, because it's a very anthropomorphic God. This is God as a human being with whom he's going to struggle. And he now struggles with a man. Okay, we are up to chapter 32. And we're going to go to verse 13. Claire, you want to pick it up there?
So he lodged there that night, and took from what he had with him a present for his brother Esau, 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milch camels and their coats, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 she-asses and 10 he-asses. These he delivered into the hand of his servants, every drove by itself, and said to his servants, Pass on before me, and put a space between drove and drove. He instructed the foremost, When Esau my brother meets you, and asks you, To whom do you belong? Where are you going? And whose are these before you? Then you shall say, They belong to your servant Jacob. They are a present sent to my lord Esau, and moreover he is behind us. He likewise instructed the second and the third, and all who followed the droves. You shall say the same thing to Esau when you meet him. And you shall say, Moreover, your servant Jacob is behind us. For he thought, I may appease him with the present that goes before me, and afterwards I shall see his face. Perhaps he will accept me. So the present passed on before him, and he himself lodged that night in the camp.
Brave man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You go, and I'll follow. Okay, now we get the story.
What happened to you?
The same night. Somebody else. Who's back there? Derek, do you want to
Let's start with 24.
start with 22?
During the night, Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 female slaves, and his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of Jabbok. He took them and brought them across the stream, along with all his possessions. Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until daybreak. When the man saw that he could not defeat him, he struck Jacob's hip as they wrestled and dislocated his hip socket. Then he said to Jacob, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." "What is your name?" the man asked. "Jacob," he replied. "Your name will no longer be Jacob," he said. "It will be Israel, because you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed." Then Jacob asked him, "Please tell me your name." But he answered, "Why do you ask my name?" And he blessed him there. Jacob then named the place Peniel, for, he said, "I have seen God face to face, and I have been delivered." The sun shone on him as he passed by Peniel, limping on his hip. That is why to this day the Israelites don't eat the thigh muscle that is at the hip socket, because he struck Jacob's hip socket at the thigh muscle.
Which is not really true. They don't eat that because it's the rear end of the animal, and they don't eat the rear end of the animal for fairly obvious reasons. Okay, but at least they have a story. The Hebrew people have a story for everything. Everything is a story. Wonderful stories. Okay, he has struggled, and you have a conflation there of 2 stories, because you have him struggle with a Yahwist God, but he calls the place Peniel. Isn't that interesting? To me it is. Just interesting the way these stories are interwoven. Okay. What is your name? Who else asks that question?
Moses?
Huh?
Moses?
Moses. Yeah. What you have in some of these stories is a series of stories that are also going to be told about Moses. Some of them are just going to be reused over and, told differently, but about Moses. And so here is the story of a man struggling with God and asks, "What is your name?" Moses has God in the burning bush, "What is your name?" And he gets told Yahweh, and this guy seems to have El. So just interesting use of it. Okay. I have 2 questions on the board. For those of you who are younger, think about, I guess, the second part of it. And for those of you, those of you who are younger, the first question, and those of you who are older, the second question. How comfortable would you be bathing your elderly parent? Or if you are an elderly parent, how comfortable would you be having one of your children bathe you?
Depending on which one of them it was. I got a boy and a girl, depending on which one it was.
Well, it may have to be either one.
I know. But that's the happens. Yeah, sometimes you don't have a choice.
You know, when you think about it, that's probably the oldest taboo that we have in our society, is seeing your parent naked.
I had a friend who said when his mother was sick and he was an only child, he had to look after her, and he said, I did things for my mother I never thought I'd have to do.
Yeah,
True.
yeah.
He was uncomfortable, but he did what he had to.
Well, I think we do,
Mm-hmm.
but we are not comfortable with it. And if you look at Genesis 9, and I know I'm going backwards, but I wanted to group these stories together and have called them the sexual stories because they all relate in some way to sexuality or taboos or requirements. So look at Genesis 9, 1 through 27. Genesis 9, 1 through 20. And we're going back to Noah for this story. I want to go to verse 20. Let's see. Joe, can you read scripture for us?
Yes, ma'am. You want to start at verse 20?
Yeah. Chapter 9, verse 20.
Noah, a man of the soil, was the first to plant and the great son of the lion became drunk, and the day uncovered his tent. And Ham,